You might have caught the buzz, maybe seen some headlines about properties in Phuket selling for really astonishing sums. It definitely leaves you wondering, what exactly is fueling this incredible surge in what, well, many consider a tropical paradise? So today we're doing a deep dive into precisely that question. Why are luxury villas in Phuket experiencing such a, well, meteoric rise in value? We're going to unpack the factors driving this boom, and we're looking at a fantastic source that lays it all out.
Yeah, what's particularly insightful, I think, about our source material for this deep dive is that it comes directly from a key player. Right in the heart of this market, we're drawing our understanding from an article called Phuket Villas, a skyrocketing ascent in value, and it's published on the blog of Ocean Worldwide.
Ocean Worldwide, right.
And they're not just any agency. They're a luxury real estate agency that's been based right there in Phuket since 2004. So they've got, an incredible vantage point over nearly 2 decades.
That's a long time, and it's really crucial to highlight the depth of expertise behind this, isn't it?
Absolutely.
The director of the agency, Sandra O'Neill, she's apparently been instrumental in helping, well, thousands of families and property investors navigate this market over the years. And their focus is quite specific: luxury residential real estate, not just in Phuket, but also Koh Samui. So you can see they really have their finger firmly on the pulse there.
Exactly. And to put this into perspective, having insights from a source so embedded, so deep in the market, it gives us a really solid foundation, a way to understand the kind of complex forces at play. Our deep dive today, it's going to explore the core reasons highlighted in this article: the massive, frankly unprecedented growth and record sales, the island's naturally limited land supply.
Always a factor on an island.
Always. Then there's the steadily rising construction costs, the ever-increasing demand for luxury properties, and, importantly, significant ongoing infrastructure developments. It's truly a unique and potent combination of factors, creating this perfect storm, really.
Okay, a perfect storm indeed. With that overview, let's delve into this first factor: the boom itself. So let's start with just the sheer scale of the growth. The article describes Phuket's property market as experiencing a boom that's, and I quote, grabbing attention worldwide. That's quite a statement.
It absolutely is, and it's backed by some truly staggering figures. We're not just talking about, slight growth here. We're talking record-breaking villa sales. Think about this. CBRE Thailand is reporting that growth this year has doubled compared to 2023.
Doubled. Wow.
And 2023 itself saw a 4-fold increase from the average in previous years.
4-fold before doubling.
Exactly. So imagine a market doubling its growth year on year, but that's on top of a quadruple increase the year before. It's not just a boom. It's like an explosion of value. It's creating these unprecedented opportunities for those involved.
That's a fascinating anomaly, isn't it? Because this kind of performance is happening while other major global markets are actually struggling. The article points out that places like China, Bangkok, the US, Europe, they're facing downturns, yet Phuket is bucking the trend. Why is it such an outlier?
Yeah, that raises a really important question. Why is Phuket defying these global headwinds? The article suggests that many investors are actively looking for alternative opportunities, ones that outperform the, quote, paltry returns offered by the banks elsewhere.
Paltry returns, yeah, you hear that a lot.
And when we say paltry, it's not just low numbers, it's often returns that get eaten up by inflation, meaning your money is actually losing purchasing power.
Right.
So Phuket Investment Property, it seems to tick all the boxes for these, discerning investors. It's offering both capital appreciation and strong rental yields. It's just a really compelling alternative.
So this divergence, what does it actually mean on the ground for investors looking in and maybe for property owners already there?
Well, we're seeing substantial increases across the key metrics that directly benefit them. Things like average selling prices, rental yields, occupancy rates, they're all significantly up.
Okay.
Just as one example, condominium prices alone have reportedly risen by about 10% annually since 2019. But it's more than just numbers. This influx of investment is having a really profound positive impact on the local economy, stimulating job growth, supporting local businesses, generally increasing the prosperity of the island. It's kind of a virtuous cycle where you have real people investing in a place they clearly see long-term value in.
All right, so we have this undeniable boom, this outlier performance. Now, the article highlights some fundamental economic principles driving it. And the first one it really zeroes in on is Phuket's limited land supply.
Exactly, and that's classic island economics, right?
Oh, yeah.
Phuket is, at its heart, a relatively small island.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of developable land is inherently finite. especially when you factor in protected areas, national parks, existing towns.
You can't just make more land.
You simply can't magic it up, no. And this scarcity isn't just a minor thing. It's a fundamental price driver. What little pristine land is left becomes, well, exponentially more valuable.
And because of that scarcity, the article states, land prices are literally going through the roof.
They certainly are. We've apparently seen land prices increase nearly fourfold in recent years.
Fourfold, just on the land itself.
Just the land. And if you're looking for that dream sea view, particularly on the West Coast, that's the sweet spot you'll pay an even higher premium. Those plots are the most sought after, and their prices reflect that intense desirability. The island's, burgeoning prosperity is intrinsically linked to these rising land values. It creates this powerful feedback loop of growth. And think about it, for families who've held land for generations, suddenly they're sitting on incredibly valuable assets.
Right. Beyond the scarce land, the cost of actually building and then maintaining a home is also climbing quite significantly, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. We're seeing a steady rise in both raw material prices and labor costs. For construction materials, concrete, for instance, saw a noticeable 12.5% increase. That was from around 3,500 Thai baht to 4,000 Thai baht per cubic meter, just between 2023 and 2024.
So for our listeners, what's that roughly in, say, dollars or pounds?
Yeah, good point. That's roughly an increase from about 80 to 90 US dollars, or maybe 65 to 75 sterling per cubic meter.
Okay, that's quite a jump in a year.
It is. And this is a clear case of what economists call cost-push inflation. Basically, when the cost of producing something like building a house goes up, that increased cost gets passed directly onto the buyer in the final price.
Makes sense. And it's not just the materials, the expertise, the people putting these structures together that costs more too, right?
That's right. Labor costs are increasing too. Now, the article notes the Burmese workforce still offers good value compared to some other regions, but skilled labor wages rose by a pretty significant 16.7%.
Oh.
That was from about 1,100 Thai baht to 1,280 Thai baht per day in the same period. So maybe 30 to 35 US dollars or 25 to 30 pounds sterling per day.
So that inevitably gets factored in.
It absolutely gets factored into property prices. Developers just face higher operational costs.
And it's not solely about construction, is it? The article mentions the general cost of living on the island also plays a role in the bigger picture.
That's correct. General inflation affects everything: food, utilities, transport. Petrol, for example, increased by 8.3%, from 43 Thai baht to 47 Thai baht per liter.
Okay.
Now, while this makes maintaining a property more expensive for owners and residents, it paradoxically actually increases the attractiveness of property as an investment.
How so?
Well, in an inflationary environment, people often look to tangible assets like real estate to protect their money, to potentially see it grow, rather than just holding cash that's, losing value over time.
Right, a hedge against inflation. Okay, so we've established the push factors, limited supply, rising costs. Now let's pivot to the pull side. What's driving this huge appetite for luxury properties, specifically in Phuket?
Yeah, this is where the demand side really kicks in. Developers are increasingly focusing on high-end condominium and villa projects, specifically to meet this, burgeoning demand. And this focus on luxury, it's leading to significant price appreciation because it's all about offering a premium and exclusive experience. And buyers are clearly willing to pay for it. These aren't just vacation homes anymore. They're often seen as lifestyle investments, secure assets.
The article even singles out a specific area by name, calling it liquid gold. What makes that particular spot so desirable?
That would be Bang Tao. It's known for its highly valued beachfront properties.
Ah, okay.
It has truly become a prime location, really solidifying its status as an exclusive area. You've got the high-end amenities, world-class resorts, a vibrant community. And the larger properties there, especially the villas with those coveted sea views, they have demonstrably higher appreciation potential. That makes them incredibly solid investments in this market.
Makes sense. Beyond just the luxury appeal of specific areas, larger-scale infrastructure development is clearly playing a big role here too, isn't it?
Absolutely. The expansion of Phuket International Airport is a massive deal.
Right.
They're aiming to handle 18 million annual arrivals by 2031. That's huge.
18 million.
Yeah. And this isn't just about boosting tourism numbers. It's about facilitating greater connectivity for residents, for investors, which in turn fuels the whole economy. There are also planned expressway projects designed to drastically cut down travel times across the island, making it even more accessible and convenient.
That's significant for connectivity. But it does raise a question. While that infrastructure is growing, what about mass transit within the island for residents and visitors getting around beyond the airport?
That's a critical point, and the source does touch on it. It notes that reliance is still largely on personal vehicle, cars, motorbikes.
Mm-hmm.
While there's the Smart Bus, which serves the airport route along parts of the West Coast, it really highlights a clear need for a more comprehensive mass transit system, maybe something like a light rail, to provide efficient access to other areas and, importantly, minimize congestion as the island grows.
Yeah, sustainable growth needs that.
Exactly. These kinds of public transport improvements are intrinsically tied to the island's long-term prosperity and, frankly, quality of life, ensuring that growth is sustainable and accessible for everyone, not just those in cars.
And finally, on the demand side, it's not just tourists or luxury buyers driving this, is it? The article mentions new residents and significant foreign investment really fueling the demand.
Yes, Phuket's property market is seeing really robust demand from international purchasers. They view it as an extremely attractive investment destination. And that's down to its consistent popularity, the steadily increasing property values we've talked about, and that clear commitment from the government to infrastructure investments.
Right. It builds confidence.
It does. And this inflow of new residents, often with significant wealth, is creating even more demand for housing right across the board, but particularly for those highly sought-after luxury sea view villas. It's really a testament to Phuket's status as a global destination for both leisure and increasingly long-term living.
Okay, let's talk about the numbers then. The bottom line figures that really matter to investors. The article shows pretty consistent property value appreciation in Phuket. What does that look like in, real terms?
It has shown impressive resilience, yeah, especially when you consider global economic wobbles. We've seen steady annual price increases pretty much since 2019. We're looking at average price increases of about 8% in 2022, 12% in 2023, and a projected 15% for 2024.
15% projected this year.
That's the projection mentioned.
Yeah.
And areas like Bangtao, the liquid gold we discussed, they're demonstrating truly exceptional growth, sometimes even exceeding these averages. This consistent upward trend, it makes a really compelling case for long-term investment.
So for someone maybe considering putting their money into Phuket property, what does this translate to in terms of potential returns?
Well, Phuket villas specifically seem to offer significant long-term investment potential. Now, condominiums often offer lower upfront costs, maybe an easier entry point. But larger villas, especially those with unique features or those sea views, they frequently have higher appreciation potential. Plus, they offer additional ROI, return on investment, through resale in that highly active luxury market. The ongoing development across the island, the sustained demand, it all suggests values will continue to rise, making them potentially a solid part of a diversified investment portfolio.
And beyond the potential for the property value itself to grow, what about generating income, renting it out? What does the rental market look like?
Oh, the rental demand for villas is incredibly strong, especially in those prime locations. The article states that rental yields in Phuket average around 9–10% annually, which is pretty healthy.
That's very healthy.
And in those top-tier areas like Bangtao or near the Laguna Phuket complex, yields can even exceed 10%.
Wow.
Just to give a concrete example, the article mentions a one-bedroom unit, maybe 50–60 square meters, can command a rental rate of 50,000 to 60,000 Thai baht per month.
Okay, quite substantial.
Yeah. The rental market, really driven by tourism, but also long-stay visitors and digital nomads, has been truly booming since the pandemic restrictions lifted.
That's a powerful combination then, strong capital growth potential and really strong rental income. Now, what seems to really set this market apart is what the article calls Phuket's unique market dynamics. Can you elaborate on that a bit? What makes it so unique?
It's fascinating, actually. The surge in property values has, quite remarkably, transformed many locals into millionaires, or at least very wealthy.
Really?
Yeah. Families who have held land, maybe for generations. They're seeing truly incredible returns on properties that were once, maybe just agricultural land or simple family plots. Demand consistently outstrips new supply. That's a fundamental driver pushing prices up. And this increased wealth, it's had a largely positive ripple effect on the local economy, stimulating further investment, supporting local businesses, generally improving living standards across the island. It's a very tangible shift in prosperity you can see.
That's quite a transformation. And finally, it seems global economic influences are also playing a kind of subtle but significant role here, too.
Yes, they absolutely are. The increased wealth of foreign inhabitants, partly potentially linked to the global increase in currency supply from central banks, quantitative easing, more money in the system.
Mm-hmm.
That money often finds its way into tangible luxury assets in desirable locations. And Phuket definitely benefits from this. It funnels into places like here, increasing demand for luxury goods, services, and of course, property.
Yeah.
However, what's interesting is, despite these rising prices and this influx of wealth, Phuket still apparently maintains competitive pricing compared to other global luxury markets. Think the south of France, parts of the Caribbean.
Right. It's still seen as offering value at the high end.
Relatively speaking, yes. The article makes a small note, just as an indicator of general inflation and rising costs, that a local meal that might have been 40 Thai baht 20 years ago is now perhaps 80 Thai baht, reflecting not just global inflation, but also that rising prosperity and cost of living that comes with such rapid development.
So pulling it all together, what does this mean for you, our listener? We've really taken a deep dive into why Phuket villas are shooting up in value, and it's a truly fascinating combination of forces, isn't it? On one side, you have this immense demand, especially from international buyers, bumping right up against the very real limited land of an island paradise. Then you add in those rising costs, building materials, labor alongside the significant infrastructure upgrades like the airport expansion that just make it more attractive.
Yeah, if we connect all those dots, it truly creates what the Ocean Worldwide article describes as a perfect storm for property values. It
Mm.
really is a testament to Phuket's unique appeal, both as a premier lifestyle destination and as a compelling high-return investment opportunity. And the trend, as their article concludes, it appears set to continue, which makes Phuket a truly interesting place to watch, whether you're thinking about property yourself or just curious about these global market dynamics.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe here's something to think about. With such rapid development and these soaring property values transforming even local landholders into millionaires, as you said, what are the potential long-term implications? Implications for Phuket's unique cultural identity, perhaps, or its accessibility for all residents, not just the wealthy? How does that balance between luxury investment and local living, how does that evolve as the island's prosperity continues to reshape its landscape and its future? Definitely something to ponder until next time.